Shalom, I am Rabbi Ezra. The word miracle often conjures images of the sea splitting, fire falling from the sky, or sudden inexplicable windfalls of cash. We are conditioned to believe that miracles are passive events, divine interventions that happen to us while we wait helplessly. But the ancient Jewish tradition teaches something entirely different. In the Torah and the Talmud, a miracle is not a passive event, it is a collaborative process. It is a specific, actionable method that requires human initiation. Today I am going to reveal the ancient Jewish method for making miracles happen in your everyday life, particularly in your financial reality. This is an information-driven breakdown of how the sages understood the mechanics of divine intervention and how you can apply this exact framework to unlock abundance. To understand this method, we must look at the most famous miracle in human history, the splitting of the Red Sea. The book of Exodus describes the Israelites trapped between the advancing Egyptian army and the deep waters of the sea. Moses, the greatest prophet, does what most people do in a crisis. He begins to pray fervently for a miracle. But God's response, recorded in Exodus chapter 14, verse 15, is shocking. God says to Moses, "Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward." This is a profound theological statement. God is essentially saying that prayer alone is insufficient to trigger the miracle. The sea did not split while they were praying on the shore. According to the Midrash, the sea only split when a man named Nashon ben Aminadav walked into the water until it reached his nostrils. The miracle required human action to break the natural order. And for those who are truly serious about accelerating their journey, for a limited time, I am opening the doors to the Torah Millionaire Business School for just $299. This is where I unveil the complete Torah wealth system. It is the full architecture of ancient wisdom applied to modern financial transformation. The doors are closing soon, so check the link in the comments. The Jewish method for miracles is built on the concept of hishtadlut, which translates to human effort or endeavor. The great medieval philosopher Maimonides, in his Guide for the Perplexed, explains that God established the laws of nature and generally operates within them. Miracles are not random violations of nature, they are higher laws of nature that are activated by specific human behaviors. When you need a financial miracle, you cannot simply sit in your room and meditate on wealth. You must take an action that demonstrates absolute, unwavering trust in the outcome you are seeking. You must step into the water before it splits. This means making the phone call you are terrified to make, launching the business when the conditions are not perfect, or giving charity when your bank account is low. The action must be bold enough to prove that your reliance is on the Creator, not on the current circumstances. Let us examine the mechanics of this process through the Talmudic story of Honi HaMagel, Honi the circle maker, found in Tractate Tiny 23. During a devastating drought, the people asked Honi to pray for rain. Honi did not just pray. He drew a circle in the dirt, stood inside it, and declared to God that he would not move until rain fell. This was an act of profound audacity, but it was also a demonstration of the method. Honi combined a clear, specific request with a definitive physical action. He created a boundary and committed to it. The Talmud records that the rain eventually fell, precisely according to his specifications. The lesson here is not to draw circles in the dirt, but to understand the power of definitive action coupled with clear intention. When you need a financial breakthrough, you must draw your own circle. You must commit to a course of action so completely that retreat is impossible. This method requires a fundamental shift in how you view risk. In the secular world, risk is calculated based on past data and current resources. If the numbers do not make sense, the action is deemed too risky. But the Jewish method of miracles introduces a new variable into the equation: divine partnership. When you take a bold action aligned with ethical principles and a genuine desire to create value, you are not acting alone. The Talmud in Tractate Shabbat 55 states that the seal of God is truth, emet. When your actions are true, when they are aligned with your highest purpose and not just selfish greed, they carry the seal of the Creator. This alignment is what allows your hishtadlut to trigger a miraculous result. The risk is mitigated not by a larger bank account, but by the integrity of your intention and the boldness of your execution. Furthermore, the method requires the removal of doubt. The Kabbalistic text, the Zohar, teaches that doubt is the primary block to divine flow. The Hebrew word for doubt, safek, has the same numerical value in gematria as the word Amalek, the archetypal enemy of the Jewish people who attacked them when they were vulnerable and exhausted. Doubt attacks your mind when you are on the verge of a breakthrough. It whispers that you are not capable, that the market is too tough, that you will fail. To trigger a miracle, you must ruthlessly eliminate this internal Amalek. You must cultivate a state of bitachon, absolute trust. Bitachon is not the belief that God will do what you want. It is the certainty that whatever happens is ultimately for your benefit, which frees you to act with total confidence. When you act with bitachon, you create a vacuum in the natural order that a miracle can fill. Consider the practical application of this in business. A person needs a significant investment to keep their company afloat. The logical, natural order suggests they will fail. The passive approach is to pray and wait for an investor to magically appear. The Jewish method of miracles demands action. It demands that the person refine their pitch, contact 50 potential investors, and present their vision with absolute conviction, even if they have been rejected 49 times. The 50th call, the one that secures the funding, may seem like a miracle, but it was triggered by the relentless hishtadlut of the previous 49. The miracle is the disproportionate result of the human effort. God provides the increase, but you must provide the base. You must give the universe something to multiply. This principle is also deeply connected to the practice of tzedakah, charity. Giving money away when you are in financial distress defies human logic. It seems counterproductive, but in the Jewish framework, it is one of the most powerful triggers for a financial miracle. The Talmud in Tractate Gittin 7 states that even a poor person who is sustained by charity must give charity. Why? Because the act of giving breaks the psychological grip of scarcity. It is a physical demonstration of bitachon. When you give, you are telling the universe that you are a conduit for wealth, not a stagnant pool. You are stepping into the water. Countless stories in Jewish history and modern business confirm this phenomenon. The moment a person commits to giving a portion of their income, regardless of their current financial state, their capacity to generate wealth expands miraculously. The ancient Jewish method for miracles is not magic. It is a technology of the soul. It requires you to stop waiting for God to change your circumstances and start changing your actions to align with God's abundance. It demands bold hishtadlut, absolute bitachon, and the elimination of doubt. It requires you to be the Nachshon ben Aminadav of your own life, willing to step into the deep water before you see the path. When you master this method, you stop being a victim of the economy and start being a co-creator of your financial reality. You realize that miracles are not rare anomalies. They are the natural result of human courage meeting divine grace. To deepen our understanding of this technology, we must explore the Kabbalistic concept of itaruta deletata, which translates to an awakening from below. The Zohar teaches that the spiritual realms are structured in a reciprocal relationship with the physical world. Divine energy, or shefa, is constantly ready to flow downward, but it requires a stimulus from below to open the channels. This stimulus is human action. When a person performs an act of courage, generosity, or faith in the physical world, it creates an awakening from below that triggers an awakening from above, itaruta delela. The miracle is the downward flow of energy responding to the upward thrust of human effort. If you sit passively and wait for the miracle, there is no awakening from below, and the channels remain closed. Your bold financial action is the key that unlocks the cosmic vault. This principle explains why so many successful entrepreneurs describe their biggest breakthroughs as lucky or miraculous. Yet these breakthroughs almost always occur after periods of intense, relentless effort. They were not lucky. They were operating the mechanics of itaruta deletata. They pushed themselves to the absolute limit of their natural abilities, and in doing so, they created a massive awakening from below. The universe responded with a disproportionate reward. The miracle. The Jewish method formalizes this process. It teaches you not to rely on accidental luck, but to intentionally engineer these awakenings through calculated, faith-driven actions. You become an active participant in the miraculous process rather than a passive observer. Furthermore, the method requires a specific type of speech. The Talmud in Tractate Moed Katan 18 states that a covenant is made with the lips. What you speak into the world has a profound impact on the reality you experience. If you constantly speak about your financial limitations, your debts, and your fears, you are creating vessels for scarcity. You are signaling to the universe that you expect failure. To trigger a miracle, you must align your speech with your bold actions. You must speak the language of bitachon. This does not mean delusional positive thinking. It means speaking about your goals and your future with the certainty that the Creator is your partner. When your actions are bold and your speech is aligned with faith, you create an irresistible force that shatters natural limitations. Consider the story of a small business owner facing bankruptcy. The natural order dictates that he should panic, lay off his staff, and prepare for the worst. His speech would naturally reflect this panic. But if he applies the Jewish method, he takes a different path. He takes a bold action, perhaps investing his last reserves in a new marketing campaign or refusing to compromise his product quality to save a few dollars. Simultaneously, he changes his speech. He stops talking about bankruptcy and starts talking about the breakthrough that is coming. He speaks to his team with confidence, not because he sees the solution, but because he trusts the partner. This combination of bold hishtadlut and faithful speech creates a massive itaruta deletata. The subsequent miraculous turnaround of his business is simply the universe responding to the precise spiritual technology he deployed. This technology also demands that we redefine our relationship with time. In the secular mindset, time is a linear progression of cause and effect. If you are in debt today, it will logically take years to get out of debt. But the realm of miracles operates outside of linear time. The Talmud teaches that God's salvation comes in the blink of an eye. When you trigger a miracle through bold action and absolute trust, you collapse time. A financial recovery that should take a decade can happen in a month. A business that should take 5 years to scale can explode in 6 months. This is not because you found a shortcut, but because you accessed a higher dimension of reality where the normal constraints of time do not apply. Your hishtadlut is the entry fee to this higher dimension. Therefore, the next time you face a financial wall, do not just pray for it to fall. Look for the water you need to step into. Identify the action that terrifies you, the action that requires absolute trust, and execute it. Speak about your future with the certainty of a person who knows they are backed by the Creator of the universe. Give tzedakah to break the grip of scarcity. Engineer your own awakening from below. The ancient Jewish method for miracles is not a secret reserved for the elite. It is a practical, actionable framework available to anyone willing to operate with audacity and faith. You have the power to force the natural order to yield. Use it. To truly master this framework, you must also understand the role of joy, or simcha, in the miraculous process. The Talmud in Tractate Shabbat 30b states that the divine presence does not rest upon a person who is in a state of sadness or lethargy, but only upon one who is in a state of joy derived from a mitzvah, a good deed. Joy is not merely an emotional reaction to a positive event. In the Jewish framework, it is a prerequisite for divine intervention. When you are anxious, depressed, or consumed by financial fear, your spiritual vessels contract. You become closed off to the flow of Shefa. But when you cultivate a state of joy, even before the miracle has occurred, you expand your vessels. You signal to the universe that you are already living in the reality of the fulfilled promise. This proactive joy is a profound form of bitachon. It is the ultimate demonstration that you trust the Creator's plan. Consider how this applies to your daily financial operations. If you approach your work, your investments, or your debt repayment with a heavy heart and a sense of dread, you are operating in a state of spiritual contraction. You are making it incredibly difficult for a miracle to penetrate your reality. But if you approach those same tasks with a sense of purpose, gratitude, and proactive joy, you change the energetic dynamic. You are no longer just a person struggling with money. You are a partner in creation, joyfully executing your histadlut. This shift in emotional state is often the final catalyst needed to trigger the awakening from above. The miracle is drawn to the joy. Furthermore, the Jewish method requires you to recognize the miracles that are already happening in your life. The Talmud in Tractate Nida 31a teaches that a person does not even recognize the miracles that are performed for them. We are often so focused on the massive, sea-splitting events that we ignore the daily, subtle interventions that keep us alive and functioning. The beating of your heart, the functioning of your mind, the unexpected phone call that solved a minor problem, these are all miracles. When you train your mind to recognize and acknowledge these daily miracles, you build a consciousness of abundance. You move from a mindset that demands proof to a mindset that constantly observes grace. This heightened awareness makes you far more receptive to the larger financial breakthroughs you are seeking. You cannot expect the universe to deliver a massive financial miracle if you are blind to the miracles it is already providing. This brings us to the ultimate purpose of the miracle. In the Jewish tradition, a miracle is never just for the benefit of the individual. When the Red Sea split, it was not just to save the Israelites, it was to demonstrate the power of the Creator to the entire world. When you trigger a financial miracle in your life, it comes with a responsibility. The wealth you generate through this method is not meant to be hoarded in a vault. It is meant to be used as a tool for further elevation. You are expected to use that wealth to support your family, to build your community, to fund Torah study, and to give to Zagah. When the universe knows that you will use the miracle for a higher purpose, the channels of abundance open much wider. Your intention to elevate the wealth is the final crucial component of the method. But before you go, I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking that you have taken bold actions before. You have stepped into the water, and you still drowned. You started the business, you made the investment, and it failed. You conclude that this method does not work for you. This is a critical misunderstanding of how divine partnership operates. A failure in the natural world is not a denial of the miracle. It is often the redirection required to reach it. The Talmud teaches that all delays are for the good. When an action does not produce the immediate result you desired, it is because the vessel you were building was not the right shape for the blessing that is coming. The method requires you to maintain your bitachon even in the face of apparent failure. You must learn the lesson, refine your approach, and step into the water again. The miracle is rarely linear, but it is always precise. Furthermore, some may argue that relying on miracles is irresponsible, that one should only make decisions based on hard data and guaranteed outcomes. This hyper-rational approach is exactly what keeps people trapped in mediocrity. Data can only tell you what has happened in the past. It cannot measure the potential of the human spirit aligned with divine will. The greatest financial achievements in history were not the result of safe, calculated bets. They were the result of individuals who saw a vision that the data did not support and took massive action to make it real. They employed the method of miracles. Whether they knew it or not, they combined audacious effort with unshakable belief. Do not let the illusion of safety prevent you from experiencing the reality of abundance. The ancient Jewish method to make miracles happen is available to you right now. It does not require a special lineage or a mystical incantation. It requires a decision. Decide today what financial breakthrough you need. Identify the bold ethical action that demonstrates your absolute trust in that outcome, and then execute that action without hesitation and without doubt. Draw your circle, step into the water, force the natural order to respond to your spiritual conviction. This is how you build wealth that defies logic. This is how you live a miraculous life. And if you are truly serious about accelerating your journey and applying these principles at the highest level, for a limited time, I am opening the doors to the Torah Millionaire Business School for just $299. This is where I unveil the complete Torah wealth system, the full architecture of ancient wisdom applied to modern financial transformation. The doors are closing soon. The link is in the comments. I look forward to seeing you inside and helping you build the wealth you were destined to create.